The symbolism of this film was all about the symbolism. I mean, that's kind of why I made this film, was for the symbolism of it. And there's a lot. The whole thing was just one big symbolism, and even the weather, which I couldn't control, only God could do that, worked out perfectly, thanks God. The entire thing is just one big metaphor for everything that I wanted it to be, which was what Jesus did and what he continues to do today in a more modern setting. You can look at all the obvious ones. You know, there's the guy who's getting beat up, which is like normal people. Then there's this guy who comes in and saves him, and that's like Jesus. And then the other guy eventually wants to become like Jesus, so he goes and tries to help this other guy who gets beat up. Their costumes, even, I sat and thought about those, because those had to be perfect. They wore normal everyday clothes so that they would look like normal people, although the colors had to do with who their character was.
With me, if I'm not mistaken, I wore like dark colors because I was trying to be like the world and everything that the world stands for, when truly deep down inside that wasn't who I was. And it wasn't until I had to get rid of me being of the world that I was able to stand in the fullness and presence of God, knowing that this is who I am.
Eventually at the end, after the guy saves him, he takes off the black sweater, the black button down. That's a huge symbolism that I really wanted to get across. Otherwise, it's just like he's taking off his shirt. That doesn't make sense. But he's taking off the evil that he was and the person who he thought he was becoming, and he threw it on the ground at the feet of Jesus and said no more, and he was wearing white underneath. The lens kind of flared and had more of a glow to it. And the guy in the red was obviously Jesus, and red symbolizes Jesus' blood, which washes our sins white as snow.
I know it wasn't planned, but the rain that was there, that I don't know a lot of people caught, but us as the crew most definitely caught that. I really think that it kind of played into the person getting beat up. He probably wasn't having that great of a day due to the fact that it was raining and he was wet and he got beat up and there was water dripping, and I really believe that symbolized the hard times that we go through and the even harder times that people go through for us.
At that peak moment where Mario looks at Josh, who's on the ground, he has the tear in his eye, but there's rain coming down in front of him, and that also just symbolizes even more tears than we can see. And at the end, the rain suddenly stopped, and the dreariness was gone. We don't fully know why Mario gets beaten up, although I kind of told him a backstory to get the actors to do well. I told him that Mario was just a fake, a fraud, and they found out, and they were wanting to beat him up, which is why he had the black and the white underneath, since he was a fraud, he was a fake, and they didn't want him anymore. When the guys got done beating up the sacrificial, or Josh Robinson, they walked away in the direction of Mario. Mario kind of hid behind a post, but he was still very visible, and the bad guys didn't even pay attention to him, and that kind of symbolized that when Jesus died for us, we're always covered in the blood of the Lamb, and the demons can't touch us and can't really look at us. So they ignored him to that extent that he was now covered by the blood of the Lamb, and that, you know, they couldn't really touch him, so they didn't even want to bother. I think the biggest question that everybody always asks is, did the guy who sacrificed himself, was he dead, or was he knocked out, or they don't really know. And as the director, I intended to leave that up to the audience. It kind of leaves it up to the audience's imagination about what happened afterwards, because the whole point of the story was focusing on Mario and his take. It starts with him coming to this group of people, it ends with him going and saving someone else. It's just about his journey. Everybody who crosses his path, we don't really find out their story. We don't find out why that one kid's getting beat up, for instance.
I guess you never really know when somebody needs help until you see that they're in a very desperate situation. That's when you make the decision, am I going to continue to be selfish, or am I going to step in?